Alright, here's the one we did in class last week, chapter 3, renovations. Alright, so you've been asked to determine how long the renovation is, so we're going to figure out the renovation length in the days. And it wants us to use the date diff function, date difference. Okay, so this is considered a legacy function because it's not available. So if you were to go into formulas and look up logical or date, it's not there. Okay, so it's not available, but it can still be used if you know how to use it. Okay, so what you need is the start date, and then the comma, and then the end date. So it's going to calculate the difference between these two dates. And then we need to give it an interval, like I want to do days or I want to do months. So if I did, let me just show you, if I did months, it's going to tell me it's 3 months difference between these two. Okay, if I change this to days, it's 93 days in between the two. Okay, and I could also do years as a Y. But anyway, that's what we need to do is dates. Start date, end date, and then the number of days. Copy that down. And then using the name box, we're going to select the name range increase in revenue, which is what does it say? Modify the name range to reference B15. Oh. So the down arrow, which I didn't do this in class, we come up to the name range, or the box. Come on. Notice there's a down arrow. So I can go look at increase in revenue. Okay, so somebody's already named it, but we notice it's here and not here. So we're just going to grab it and move it up one. Maybe not. Modify the name range. Okay. The only way to do that is go to your name manager. I don't know what it's thinking of. Okay, and here's all. Later you'll see a huge list. Maybe not this assignment, but in later assignments of all the names that we've assigned. And so here we're going to come down here and just change this to 15 or 14 and click the check mark. Okay, and then close. And now if we were to go look at increase in revenue, it's pointing to the right spot. So now we want to determine in I6 what the revenue will be after the renovations. Okay, so here's our revenue currently. This is what they feel like the increase is going to be. So then we need to calculate what the projected revenue is going to be. So if you want to know what the increase is going to be, what would we do? We'd really just multiply this times this, and that gives us only the increase, right? But we want to know what the total revenue will be, so we need to add that back into this amount. So I'm going to say H6 times increase, if I can spell it right. Start spelling it and you get a name box pop up. You can double click on that. Okay, and then I'm going to add that back into that. Let it sit there for a second, let you look at it. So I've taken this, multiplied it by the increase, and then added it back to this number to get the total amount. And by using a name range, this makes a lot more sense in your formulas than saying H6 times B14. Okay, so this really helps when you're doing crazy calculations or your spreadsheet's really big. It's just a nice benefit. Okay, and then copy that down. And then, let's see. All right, and then in B20, so scroll down a little bit. In B20, we're going to calculate the monthly payment. And it says to enter a function, so that means it's a predetermined formula, a pre-programmed, so to speak, formula for us. So it's a financial payments, right? So I'm going to scroll down and find something that starts with a P. Calculates the payment of a loan. That's what I want. So this is the function arguments. And you can get to it by clicking on the FX if you type something in. And we'll do that here in just a second when I do the lookup. But the rate, you're going to see this. It gives you ideas. Okay. These are bold. That means that they're required. These are not bold, meaning they're not required. You could put it in, but it's not necessary. If you need it, great. If you don't, great. Okay, so we're calculating a monthly payment. Remember that. Okay, this is the interest rate for the period of the loan. All right, and interest rate is always taught in annualized rate. Very seldom do we talk about our monthly interest rate. We always talk about it as an annualized rate. Okay, so I'm going to click on my interest rate divided by 12 to get me my monthly interest rate. Okay, and then my number of payments. Okay, again, it's the years of the term times 12, because that's 5 years, but I'm making monthly payments. And then my present value, the amount that the series of future payments is worth. So basically it's your present value. Are you in the hole, or are you trying to get to, you know, this can also be used to say, I want to save $10,000 by, you know, such and such date. You could also do that here as well. Okay, but annual amount of loan, I'm in the hole, so I'm going to put a negative B17, and that gives me a positive payment here. Okay, and then again, this is future value, so if you're wanting it to be, like I just said, if I wanted it to be something other than 0, you'd put that here. The type, this is if it's a beginning of month payment, you put a 1. If it's an end of month payment, you put a 0. This just means that if it's the beginning of the period, you make a payment before they calculate interest. If it's the end of the month, they calculate interest and it drops into your payment amount. So anyway, it'll tell you in assignments whether it's end of month or beginning of month. And if it doesn't, we just leave it blank. Okay? All right, now we're going to assign the name range A23 through B26. We're going to name this room classification, and be sure to hit enter up here. If you do not hit enter, it doesn't take it. Okay, and then if you just want to make sure that it's there, you can select that range again and it should pop up. Or you can go to your name manager, and now you've got 2 listed. Okay? All right, now we're going to look at a VLOOKUP. So we want to look up this revenue amount and put in what kind of room classification it is. Okay, so a VLOOKUP, think of it, let me just do this real quick. So in your phones, you know, you might have things listed last name, first name, right? And now you're gonna know all my kids' names. We'll stop there. Let's go with Michael. Okay, it's actually my husband, not my kid. But anyway, so, and then in our phone, we might have their number, right? I'm not going to type all those out because, one, I don't want you to know them. I might have my address, right? And then city, and then maybe state, right? And zip. Okay, so think of this as a table. All right, so I have my names listed here, and then in each column after that I have information that I might want to retrieve at some point in time. So what you do on your phone, you don't remember everybody's address, and you may not have them in your phone, but so I want to look up my daughter's address. Okay, I start typing KLA, right, and it brings up all the KLAs, right? Now if I had it in the other order like this, which is how my phone is set up, my husband's is different. He does last name first. But anyway, so if I start typing, I wanted Ashley's address. I'm going to start typing A, and then say I had okay, so if I type in A, I'm going to get Ashley and Ann. I'm going to actually get Ann and then Ashley, right? I'll have all my A's, and then once I hit S, then I'm just sitting here. Then what I would want to do is say go over 2 columns or 3 columns, because this is 1, this is always 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5, and so on, however big the table might be. Okay, so let's just say column 1. All right, so I'm always taking in or sending information to column 1, and then I might say, okay, I found Ashley, give me whatever's in column 3. Okay, I'm not really saying go get their address, I'm saying go get whatever's in column 3. And then it brings it back to me. Say the same thing is going to happen with our lookup here. Okay, I'm going to send this information over here to this column, and it's going to start looking for it. Okay, notice that these numbers don't exist over here. Okay, we're going to do something called an approximate match instead of an exact match. So like if I did an approximate match on my table over here and just said, you know, any A, give me the address for any person that has a letter A, well, that would be great if that was the address I was really needing. Okay, that is pretty much exact match. You want to make sure you get the right address for the right person. But here, we're just wanting to get a general idea. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to look this up, this number, over here until it gets to where it's gone past it. So once it goes past it, it drops back down and gives us that information. So let's just build this real quick. V lookup, oops, spell that right, open parentheses, and then I'm going to click on the FX to make the function arguments pop up, and we're going to work through it. Okay, so the lookup value, what is the value? The left-hand column is always going to tell us kind of what the value might be. Okay, so I need to come on the row that I'm working with, find a dollar amount, basically. So that's my lookup value. Okay, and then my table array, we just named this section. What did we name this? We named it room classification. Right? And as soon as I finished typing, notice it brought in all that information. 0 bronze, 250 silver, 500 gold. Okay? Now, I have to tell it what number, what column number I want to return. Okay? So there's only 2 columns in this table. 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to return 2. I never return 1 because 1 is what I actually send over there. Okay? It's always what I'm sending, and then I figure out which column I want from that table. Okay, so now read this. This isn't required, okay? But if I wanted an exact match, Okay, so the closest match, and again, this needs to be sorted in ascending order. So if I flipped them, it wouldn't work. The closest match in the first column without going over, and then it's going to give us that information. So that's what true or being omitted. Okay, I can leave it blank and it's going to be true. If I were to type in false, notice I don't get anything. Okay, because that number doesn't exist here, and false is considered an exact match. Okay, so I'm going to take that back to blank. I got silver. Click OK and copy that down. I know that was a long explanation, but all right, and then we're going to go to the room analysis worksheet, and in G7 we're going to calculate some information here. So we're going to determine the number of musica room, how many times that occurs, and add up all of these amounts. And we do that with a sum if. Okay, adds the cell specified by a given condition or criteria. Okay, open parentheses. Now the range that I'm looking at and the criteria need to be the same. Okay, so I can't, my range is over here and my criteria is right here. Okay, so I couldn't say my range is dollars but my criteria is musica room, because musica room is not in this range. Alright, so I'm going to select this range, and then the criteria I want it to use is the musica room. And then when it finds that information, what I want it to do is add up the dollar amount that it finds. Oops. Okay, so basically it's going to come over here, get the musica room, come down here and go 8,700, 2950, add those two together, 8750, add that one in. So boom, boom, boom. You see what I'm saying? Musica 2250, and it tells you already that we're at $42,000. Okay, so if any time you have an error here, don't click OK. You need to fix that error. Okay, so that you can get it right before you click OK. And then we're just going to copy this down, and notice that it went to El Dorado. Oops, can't do that. Okay, notice